Good evening. This is Maestro Critello with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite modcast. Today we have a 3v3 on White Walls of Calderis. And our first player today is I'm the Beautiful Protagonist. Or right now it just says the Beautiful Protagonist. He is playing as the Lord General right here. I love his attitude. I mean, just with that hat, that cigar sticking out of his mouth, the bolter in his one bionic arm. He is such a boss. He is a support hero, can fight well in ranged and melee. He's the only hero who is a squad, and he can get a buff or an ability out of every single one of his warriors. His first teammate is XenosHeresy, playing as the Techmarine, a Space Marine ranged hero who is extremely powerful in teams. The Techmarine is such an asset in teams with the relay beacon, and very powerful in many other ways, just in terms of his ranged fire, a lot of his options for his guns. Next up, we got Flash, playing as the Grey Knight Bro Captain. The Grey Knight Bro Captain is a tanky melee hero with a big force sword, wearing Terminator armor, so much like a Terminator, he cannot be suppressed or knocked down. Very, very powerful. Actually, I don't know. In Tier 1, not so much powerful as an actual fighter, but he has some pretty crazy abilities like Canticle of Absolution, and then in Tier 2, he can get some very powerful weapons. On the red team, we have another Lord General, this one with no hat and no cigar, but this one is played by PrincessPonyPants. Next up, we got Osinski playing as the Ravener Alpha, this tunneling Tyrannid, quite big when you think about it, not as big as the Hive Tyrant, but he's still towering over all those Banshees and that Farseer, kind of doing nothing right now, maybe just trying to be sneaky and go for a decap or something. Starts off as a ranged hero, can be pretty good in Melee 2 with certain upgrades, but I think his best ability is his ability to tunnel around the map and basically giving you free webway gates kind of things. And then finally, we got Pibb playing as the Farseer, this Eldar hero. She mainly fights in Melee, but she's not a tanky Melee hero. Somewhat limited in that respect. Very interesting in that she is mainly a spellcaster, mainly focusing on her abilities, and most of those abilities are more about buffing and debuffing, although she does have a few abilities that do some damage. So, White Walls of Calderis, you hardly ever see this map these days. It's one of those maps that has been kind of phased out in the community now that people are picking maps instead of using the random selector of retail ranked. Everybody these days just picks their map, so if they don't like a map, they just kind of don't play it. So the map pool that is played in Elite really has changed since the days of retail, because everybody is picking their maps, and some maps have just been weeded out, and this is one of them. It's actually nice to see it. There are certainly some things about this map that can be very, very annoying, but at the same time, it can produce some very, very entertaining games. So Osinski right here with his Tyrannids. He's got a Warrior Brood, deciding to make that his 4th squad purchase, his first squad requiring power to get right out of the gate. Meanwhile, he's got his Toxin Sacks on both of his Termagants. Does not have any upgrade on the Hormagaunts yet. Sometimes players do wait a little bit to get those adrenal glands. But anyway, right here we have Pibb seemingly pushed back a little bit in his base by I'm the Beautiful Protagonist. So since he's helping him out, and that actually forces pretty much a full retreat from I'm the Beautiful Protagonist, or just the Beautiful Protagonist, or just Protagonist. But Pibb and Osinski, I think, play together a lot, so some support for each other. Osinski is someone who I like to play with a lot. The Beautiful Protagonist is also someone who I like to play with. Both guys who are pretty good at the game and also good to team with. Guys who are willing to work with you and be good sports. So one of the features of this map is, of course, these contested power nodes. Well, mainly this contested power node, actually. This is the contested power node, and teams will fight over this and try to build generators on it, and that extra power can mean a fast tech and tech advantage for the team that can control it. there is actually... Oh, I made a mistake. There's 2 power nodes up here, but only this one right near has really been captured. This one is actually uncaptured at the moment. But the Techmarine right here is XenosHeresy going in with just this fully upgraded scout squad, as well as the Techmarine just running in aggressively and not even sure why. But the scouts need to go. XenosHeresy also floating quite a bit. He's got 1,000 requisition and 140 power. Could go to tier 2, although I think he could stand to get another squad. Looks like Protagonist getting forced off yet again. And XenosHeresy trying to support a bit, but I think a little lacking in just his army. He's only got attack, a scout, and a Techmarine, which isn't a whole lot. Meanwhile, we have an aggressive stomp from that Sentinel, which is a little surprising, especially right now considering that stomp does not stun. And the Lord General being very aggressive right there, scaring away those Dire Avengers out from behind their energy shield, just chasing, because once he gets into melee, he will definitely win quite significantly over those Dire Avengers. And although I feel like even in ranged he might win against them. These Dire Avengers still not going to win against all these forces, even behind the energy shield, because beautiful Protagonist is just going right behind them. I wonder if he'll even get a wipe. He actually decides not to keep pursuing those Dire Avengers, although he probably would not have gotten a wipe on them. Still, we have this Farseer from Pibb, a little overextended by herself. Not that strong of a fighter. And we even have a Rhino. The Rhino, I'm embarrassed to say that the Rhino has been changed. I'm embarrassed to say that I'm not even fully aware of what the changes are. It had its starting health decreased from 900 to 650, and I'm guessing that it also had a price reduction to compensate for that. A little embarrassed to not know those details, but ever since that change, Rhino play has definitely become less common with the Grey Knights. Winkle, who was a dedicated Grey Knight player, used to use it all the time in Tier 1 when it had 900 hit points to keep his Purgation force very mobile and use that as a way of winning engagements as well as burning down generators. Look at this. We have a Ravener Alpha with the Hardened Carapace, allowing him to burrow, which is basically the Tyranid, which is basically just his version of infiltration. So you can actually have an infiltrating Ravener Alpha. You just don't, I feel like you don't see that upgrade a lot, and I actually feel like you don't even see the Ravener Alpha a lot. Here we go with a Creeping Barrage. Osinski even with a double Warrior Brood build, not even getting a Barbed Strangler on one of them. I would think if he was going to do that, he would get a Barbed Strangler on one of them, but apparently not. Plasma Cannon Devastator out for XenosHeresy, still floating amazingly. I don't know what he's doing. Meanwhile, over here, beautiful Protagonist seems to be doing pretty well in his lane. Actually, Pibb seems to be struggling against Protagonist, so he's often getting support. And this map can actually be pretty bad for if you are on the side lanes, and if you... Ooh, those Catachan Devils actually only losing 2 models, but that was a ton of health damage they took. Basically, if you kind of lose in the side lane, you can get pinned in your base, which can be very bad, especially on this side of the map, when that means that your opponent gets those contested power nodes. And so Osinski is still helping out Pibb right here. Pibb struggling a bit in this lane. There we go with the Sentinel Stomp, but oh, this is going to be a dead Sentinel. Definitely a dead Sentinel. Yeah, that's a dead Sentinel. So Protagonist loses that Sentinel now. That might give Pibb a bit of an edge now, or at least make things a little bit easier for him, at least allow him to fight back. Meanwhile, Flash is pushing up incredibly over here against PrincessPonyPants. PrincessPonyPants lost his Sentinel, and he has to deal with the Purgations. And Purgations can actually be very, very tough to deal with as the Imperial Guard, because those Purgations are doing area of effect damage to all of these Guard squads, which is very, very effective against them for damage, and it suppresses them. So usually the answer for that is actually to get a Sentinel. In fact, when I play, the times that I've played the Imperial Guard against Grey Knights, I would get 2 Sentinels because that's actually pretty good against the Purgations, and it can actually be very tough to deal with those Purgations without 2 Sentinels, even, or certainly without any Sentinel whatsoever. So Princess Ponypants needs something, and he's actually getting a heavy weapon team. He's also choosing not to fight Flash right now, and he's going in the middle, but he has to be really, really careful about this Plasma Cannon Devastator squad that's actually taking a ton of damage for some reason. That Plasma Cannon Devastator squad was taking a ton of damage in the building just from all that ranged fire. Not even any... Well, actually, there was some anti-garrison. This Lord General Sniper Rifle actually is anti-garrison. Not very strong anti-garrison, but I was wondering why that Devastator, that Plasma Cannon Devastator, was taking as much damage as it was inside that garrison, and it was because of Lord General Sniper Rifle. Meanwhile, we have a double Wraithguard play from Pibb, which actually could be very, very powerful against Protagonist. Protagonist, meanwhile, right now, he has not gotten any... Oh, he's going for a Manticore. I'd actually be a little bit worried about that. I actually think that if the Wraithguard push up into base, they could take out that Manticore. And I honestly even have no idea what the best answer for beautiful Protagonist would be in this situation for dealing with this kind of army composition. Because I think his guardsmen are going to get eaten alive, just blasted to pieces by these Wraithguard. I mean, he could try to go for Ogrins to go tie them up, but he can only tie up one of them. The Ogrins could get hit by kinetic pulse. They could also get hit by grenades. They could bleed a lot. So I'm not really even sure what Protagonist should do. My theory, he's already got the sniper rifle, so I think that could be good. I think one idea is he could get plasma guns, use the sniper rifle, maybe even get stormtroopers, and basically try to outrange the Eldar blob right now. That's just an idea. I don't even know if it's a great idea. I'm actually just theory crafting, to be honest. But I just know that right now, with what he has to deal with, it does not look pretty for Protagonist. I mean, these Wraithguard really could just walk right up to this Manticore, and I don't even think there's a whole lot. One guardsman squad goes down. I don't even think there's a whole lot that Protagonist can do at this point against that. Meanwhile, our guard players on both sides suffering immensely. Princess Ponypants losing a lot. Flash, meanwhile, it seems like he lost a squad, I think. I'm not even sure what. I don't remember what. But overall, he's doing pretty well, getting a plasma cannon on his Grey Knight Dreadnought. Meanwhile, over here, we have the Lord General. He has upgraded to have a Flak Jacket, and he's also got the Commissar. So actually, some really good ideas from there. That Flak Jacket with incoming is an ability that reduces damage. The Commissar has that Refractor Field ability, which also reduces damage, and I'm going to assume it stacks. But I think that's a pretty nice answer, pretty good thinking, and it's something I did not think of. Yeah, we're going to see, I thought we were going to see that was the Psychic Storm from the Farseer, and I thought we were going to see a grenade fallout from those Dire Avengers. But I feel like the red team is looking strong right now, even though it's a double cap against them, and they have fewer VPs. But right now, in terms of army composition, the losses that the blue team is taking, I think the red team is looking like they're in a good position. Osinski has, but I think one of the reasons maybe they're not really hanging on to these VPs is that Osinski has actually he hasn't even really been playing in the center lane, and we see XenosHeresy standing here and not even really doing much because Osinski has mostly been going to the side lanes to support his teammates, and I mean to be fair, they've been struggling a little bit, so he's been going over there to support them. We have a snare on this Grey Knight Dreadnought. The Warrior Broods are going for that Grey Knight Dreadnought, and that's a little bit of a risky game. At the same time, it could work out. Plasma Cannon Devastator is missing. It's hitting the terrain, hitting the stairs. This is a dead Grey Knight Dreadnought, taking las cannon shots, taking that Focus Warp Blast snare from the zone throw, and then all that follow-up damage from these Warrior Broods. Flash now asking for help because he is doubled. And XenosHeresy with double Plasma Cannon Devastators and one of the biggest floats I have ever seen. He could buy a Land Raider and drop a Venerable Dreadnought, so he's not doing either. I'm gonna guess he's a newer player.
Our ally structure is under attack.
Meanwhile, we have the... Oh, that's really bad for the Plasma Cannon Devastators. They get out of there, though. Here we go with a Scout Grenade on those Guardsmen. Hits a few models, but not too much. 3 models die, though. They die when they get hit by that grenade.
The requisition point's in trouble.
So here are Osinski's forces coming out of there. We have a fully upgraded Ravener Alpha going with the Acid Splatter. So this actually is pretty much the melee upgrade for the Ravener Alpha. So we have a melee Ravener Alpha Acid Splatter, giving the Ravener Alpha a power melee weapon with splash damage. And not a hugely powerful weapon, but this is still... It's splash damage and a melee weapon, a power melee weapon, which really is not bad. In fact, in a lot of ways, it's really quite good, even if it's not as powerful as a full-on tanky melee hero. And we even have the Ravener Alpha with the Strength and Sinew, giving him a lot of speed. And this is very interesting. I like the use of this Ravener Alpha. It seems like, I was about to say, when he's infiltrated or burrowed, he does not seem to get suppressed, or it seemed like it was just taking him longer to get suppressed. But he has, I think, been detected, but still just going under the ground like that. Meanwhile, we do now have Ogrins from beautiful Protagonist. And a full retreat from Pibb. Grenades on those Ogrins. Oh, they walk right into it. None of the Ogrin models die, but at this point they have to go back to base unless Protagonist wants to pay the reinforcement costs for when those Ogrin models inevitably die. And here we have sniper rifles from both of the Lord General players. So Lord General players with roughly the same builds. We have actually Protagonist going for every single one of the retinue members on the Lord General. He has the Commissar, he has the Sergeant, and he just got the Vox Operator. The Vox Operator gives the Lord General an ability that allows them to reinforce out on the field, and I think particularly he wants to do that. I think particularly beautiful Protagonist wants to do that because when you reinforce from the ability that comes with the Vox Caster, you don't have to pay power, whereas you would have to pay power to reinforce Ogrin models at base. As it is, he's reinforcing them at base anyway, so I don't know what he's doing. Meanwhile, XenosHeresy still with a massive float and could still drop a Venerable Dreadnought with what he has now. He could buy like 2 tack squads, 2 more Plasma Cannon Devastators. Yeah, he could get almost whatever he wants. So PrincessPonyPants has apparently been suffering a lot. He's got 2 Stormtrooper squads and 1 squad of Guardsmen. And I mean, those Protagonist Guardsmen are getting absolutely murdered by those Wraith Guard. And where is Protagonist Lord General? He's over here, unfortunately not able to support these Guardsmen. And I think he could actually do very well if he was able to get those Ogrins into melee. And then if they started losing models to use that Vox Operator ability, not just for the reinforcement, but for the fact that he's doing it out on the field.
Victory point acquired by our mates, sir.
Going in the middle right here, I know that XenosHeresy has been putting his Plasma Cannon Devastators in the building. We still have 1 on that top floor, just sitting there dead. And, ooh, so we have the Tyranid players, or Osinski and Pibb, being very, very aggressive now, choosing to be very, very aggressive against Protagonist. Protagonist not in a great position right now, with basically just... But that was very nice. I think he detonated a bunker and killed the Farseer in the process. But the Manticore is in trouble. The Warriors are just going for it. need to get some suppression from those turrets. There we go, so suppression from the turrets, but that Manticore still needs to get out of there, and the Manticore stays alive. I think actually if the Wraith Guard had been more aggressive, and oh no, we're gonna see those Ogrins get wiped. Meanwhile, back over here, Catachan Devil's now in a bit of trouble, taking on that. Oh no, they're gonna get wiped now too. And then the Catachan Devil's getting wiped by that. I think he underestimated the melee capabilities of this Acid Splatter Ravener Alpha, but there we go. Terminator Librarian for Flash has been upgraded to have the Kodachim Turnum, which gives him the Shrouding ability. I believe allows him to infiltrate a target unit, a target allied unit. And we even have some infiltrated Grey Knight Terminators with an Incinerator. Grey Knight Terminators just going in there. Nice play by Flash. Meanwhile, over here, ooh, where... that is very, very funny. So, Pibb just ran in here. He had, what a position for a webway gate, so... And now he's actually destroying the base turrets for Protagonist. And Protagonist, his Manticore is over here. My god. And there go those base turrets for Protagonist. This is not going to be good for Protagonist in the long run. I don't think he's going to be able to keep this Manticore alive for very long. And he's actually going for base destruction. Look at the damage of these Wraith Guard. They do immense, terrible, terrible damage. Oh my god, this is unbelievable. And I don't even know what is... Oh, there are some heavy bolters on the side. Oh my god. I can't believe this is happening. Orbital bombardment. That's the help it could get. And actually retreat those, those Wraith Guard out of there. Now I wonder... I wonder, because this never happens, but I'm assuming you can repair your base. I'm just assuming that you can repair your base. And basically, I think Protagonist needs to have a unit repairing his base.
Our node is getting away from us.
Can he even repair it? And yeah, and XenosHeresy nuking his ally's base. And I don't even know what happened over here, whether anything was happening over here. Even if something was happening over here, it wasn't as interesting as this. Meanwhile, there's still that hidden webway, and if Fear comes back over again with the same units, except for the fact that he actually lost one of his Wraith Guards, I think he can stand a chance to take out this base. And Protagonist, he actually needs to find a way to get actual fighting units rather than a support unit like this Manticore. And I think this Manticore, he's just straight up not even going to keep it in his base anymore, because, and that's a really smart decision, I think, because if he just keeps his Manticore in his base, he will pretty much lose it eventually. But crazy, crazy stuff. And we have the Grey Knight Terminators here with that Incinerator. And I think you don't see that often. I think when, first of all, most Grey Knight players choose to get the Paladins instead of the Terminators. And we do have Paladins because they're more versatile. And then even when they do get Paladins or Terminators, they get the Psy Cannon on them instead of the Incinerator, because it's more versatile. You can take out vehicles with it. You can also take out infantry with Psy Cannons. But over here, we have the Wraith Guard are back. Meanwhile, we also have some Fire Dragons as well, but I don't think they're going to last as long back here. And, I mean, it's lucky that the Imperial Guard Bastion is the only base that has additional defense. It has these heavy bolters coming out of the side, which, if you didn't know it, like, you're learning now, but I think people, like, hardly even remember that. Stuff going on over here, probably a creeping barrage, multiple tanks, Leman Russ for PrincessPonyPants to answer this Las Cannon Predator, and all of these units need to back up. The Swarm Lord just chasing after this Predator, and the Predator actually somewhat helps us to stop it and goes down, because that Swarm Lord is just so fast, and so many vehicles going down now for XenosHeresy. loses the Whirlwind as well. And this Land Raider Redeemer is in a horrendous position, getting hit by warriors, getting hit by a Swarmlord, getting hit by a Leman Russ, and there goes a rocket run as well, taking down a bunch of things. Does not manage to take down that Commissar on that Guardsman squad, but this could be a dead Land Raider Redeemer as well. Eldritch Storm on top of that as well. That's got to be the end of that Land Raider Redeemer. Crazy stuff happening all around. A Bastion at 30% health. I feel like Protagonist might still want to have his units repairing. And we have these Grey Knight Terminators, not even going to do a whole lot of damage to the Swarmlord. They don't have a Psy Cannon, they only have power melee halberds.
We are winning.
Meanwhile, we do have some Paladins, however, that are going to be doing a lot of damage, but the Paladins themselves are in a lot of trouble. They did get snared by Crippling Poison, and now they are relatively low in health. They need to get to some kind of healing aura place, like a base or a bunker or a relay beacon. Meanwhile, again, we have Pibb just going for it. Going for this base. This base now only at 20% health. I think he really needs to permanently have his guardsmen repairing it, or he's going to lose his base. He's lucky that his team is still in the lead in VPs. I think he needs to fight with everything else, especially his Castricans. His Castricans should be his main fighting force. He may want to get another guardsman squad so that he can support his Leman Russ out on the field while still repairing his base, because there's this webway gate. I don't think he knows where the webway gate is. Here we go with a Nemesis Vortex from the Grey Knight Bro Captain from Flash, going in on these Tyranids. Osinski just walking right into it. Doesn't do that much damage against them since they are being buffed right now by just, I think, a lot of stuff. And this Manticore, oh no! Hugely overextended by Protagonist. Gonna go down definitely now. So now he loses that Manticore. I don't know what he was doing with it that time. And here we go with some infiltrated Wraithguard about to take shots on something. Maybe on this Leman Russ, which is going to give this Leman Russ the advantage. And I think Protagonist is going to lose his Leman Russ. And he does. Here we go with another Creeping Barrage. Meanwhile, over here we do have these guardsmen basically just repairing. We have the Lord General from Protagonist has lost its entire retinue, and now I think he's gonna lose the Lord General himself. Actually does not. Wow. Just barely managed to get in that building before the Farseer gets another hit on him. Meanwhile, it's only 10 VPs left for the blue team, and they've been doing so well in some ways, certainly against Protagonist, but I guess not as much on the other side of things. XenosHeresy with a new Land Raider. This guy has gotten so much money. I don't know what's been happening. Like, is there shared resources, and Flash and beautiful Protagonist have just been giving him resources, because he's actually gotten so many things at this point. There we go with Tyrannoformation. Never too impressed with that global, though. And the Swarmlord is now actually overextended. Mark target, actually a great idea, and that is going to be a dead Swarmlord. So dead Swarmlord for Osinski. Swarmlord goes down, and now he's going for making a Lictor. Probably going to be trying to play a Batcap game. And the red team still quite miraculously has 2 VPs. They are so low on victory points. And a Seer Council right here. Seer Council, though, right now not going to be too effective against the Land Raider Redeemer. That might even be a dead Seer Council squad. Actually, they will get out of there. I think if this Land Raider Redeemer had its front facing where the Seer Council were, and it used the Frag Assault on the Seer Council instead of all these guardsmen, it may have actually taken out the Seer Council. As it is, actually takes out, I think, a Stormtrooper squad from PrincessPonyPants. And there we go. That's going to be a singularity. Going to pull in these scouts and probably do some pretty terrible damage to them. Pulled in the scouts, did terrible damage to them, and very little damage to everything else. Meanwhile, Land Raider Redeemer still in a lot of trouble. Here's an orbital. This Land Raider Redeemer needs repairs, and here goes an orbital. Probably going to wipe the D-Cannon. Definitely going to wipe the D-Cannon because the D-Cannon is also getting shot. And it's actually, oh no, a 2-to-1 cap. This could be it for the blue team. Yeah, that's actually going to be the win for the blue team. And they take it, but some pretty crazy shenanigans with this base at the end at 40% health. It's going to take forever to repair something with that much health. Whew. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.